We are back. That's right. I know you've been waiting patiently, but this is the Bullish Bitcoin Banter and Bullshit Pod 153, brought to you by the usual suspects, Mr. All-In, aka the $1 Trillion Man, Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ, myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution, and Mrs. No Show. Surprise, surprise, 153, no show. What's going on, gents?
I heard a wicked rumour about Mrs. No Show.
Wicked. Go for it.
Couldn't turn up today because she got covered in blue paint again.
Blue paint.
Yeah. Whilst eating trifle.
Yes. It's kind of like unsurprising now, isn't it? Like a little bit like a Trump assassination. There's been less news and controversy around this one, I feel, in comparison to the last one. It's like, oh, what? There was an attempt again. Yeah, he survived. It's all right.
Yeah, no one cares. Second time.
No one cares.
Yeah, I don't really care.
I've had quite a lot of feedback, from various people in family being like, where's the 4Bs? Because I think we have done, I think over the last 4 weeks, I think we've done one episode. I think we've probably all been at fault for various points in it. But yeah, I mean, it almost coincides with the price. It's just not exciting, is it? As much as
it's a bit boring
stuff to do.
I was thinking to myself, maybe we should do a couple of features because the news is just fucking boring at the moment.
Yeah,
we need to. We say it, but we need to. And I think that'll reignite the love and the passion even more.
Yeah.
It could be like, we arrange to do one in a 2 week spat. We have 2 weeks to prep for it, and we do some like lightning, or we do what they call that family. I forgot my Rothschilds. Something which is quite interesting, quite central, maybe even the petrodollar. So I know we've touched upon it, but it could be a rejog or even maybe a revisit to Blackrock.
Yeah.
Because I'm like I look on my Twitter feed, and even that's boring me. But then again, it's just election nonsense, which I don't care about. I'm like, do you want to vote for the red party or the blue party? They're both going to tax you. They're both going to inflate the currency. They're both going to over-regulate. You're going to end up with less freedoms. But you're going to have your freedom by saying, I voted for that colour.
Well said.
Both sides arguing two extremes of arguments that aren't real. All the real value in the debate is in the nuance in the middle of both arguments, and nobody ever discusses that. It's always, I'm pro this, I'm anti that, let's go to war. Both sides are racists or what. It's just, and the thing, it's the same in the UK. It's just, it's so mind-numbingly boring. And I
just think
there's plenty of stories around Bitcoin, but really it's around almost why is Bitcoin staying flat. And it's almost we're coming up with our own conspiracies, and we can probably get onto those. But should we just kick off in the story, because we've started late today, haven't we? So we need to freaking crack on. And
we've got a bumper episode as well with lots to get through. So yeah, let's do it.
I think we have light touch stories. They're all fairly light touch. The first one's about loaning money. So this guy, Sonny Poe, not someone I've actually come across before. He says that he's borrowed 54,000 from Wells Fargo, and he's comparing it to Elon Musk borrowing 13 billion from Morgan Stanley to help finance Twitter. Whereas Sonny Poe here isn't buying Twitter. He isn't even buying, I don't know, Instagram. He's not buying any of those. He is buying Bitcoin. So he's got this little spreadsheet, I think one post down, and he's showing us how much he's actually spent on Bitcoin. And did he say over the last 9 months, since he maxed out his 8 credit cards? What? I think with this one, I always look at this kind of situation on a bit like, like a 9-month period is not a period to actually brag about, because it could be a spike. Whereas I think if you start to look at this over, say, a 4-year period, it's when it starts to become more impressive. So Sonny Poe here, if he comes back in 3 years' time and says, yeah, I bought a shitload of Bitcoin for $54,000 worth of debt, and now it's worth 300 grand, I think that's where the real place is, because we actually look at cycles then. But when we start looking at 9 months, 3 months down the line, it's just like, well, you could have gambled that, is my take on this anyway.
Yeah.
I'm just showing this little chart. So he's loaned 54k. That's now worth 85k. So he's made 31k profit. And I think his bio kind of says it all really, which is don't slave harder, just saving harder money. I take printed monies from banks and buy Bitcoin and wait. So, you know, the strategy ultimately is because also an important thing to add here is that he's on 0%. So 0% interest on this money. So if it does go wrong, well, number one, he's not paying any interest. So you obviously get like 12 months usually of free money. So it's definitely a gamble, because if during that 12 months the price goes down, then you owe money. But yeah, why not kind of take the bank's money at 0%? It seems kind of crazy that he still got 0% in August 2024.
I know.
Because
I was thinking that
doesn't exist.
I wanted to raise it.
But he's in America clearly, and they've clearly just gone back to being degens and just trying to get money flowing again. So they must have dropped rates, because he said he's got 8 credit cards here to make up this 54k, and he's pumped it in. And he's about, what's it, 50-60% up on his stuff. But yeah, like you said, it's a 9-month thing. You know, the price has gone from, I think it was about 29k to 43k on his little
57.56.
So you think about, say,
we've made
Sailor
significantly more now, because it's 6. The last number, I think, the last number on his chart with the price of Bitcoin was at 43k. We're at 60k now. So
you think about Sailor's situation, to flip this, when Sailor bought it and everyone's saying he was looking like an idiot for leveraging so much debt to buy Bitcoin, the MicroStrategy. So you kind of got the flip side of that when you're looking at the short term, but he's got a nice gamble at the moment. Sailor had a gamble on a short term and it looked terrible, but look at it over 4 years, and I think that's when we start to appreciate but it's not so much a gamble, it's a measured, I suppose, bet in a way, or a measured investment.
The strange things that he says below is he basically says, what happens if you lose your job or get injured, which essentially means if you end up if Bitcoin takes a dump and you end up fundamentally owing 54k on credit cards, which very quickly that interest rate will go from 0 to like 20, 30, 40%, right? The APRs on those things are nuts once you get out of the free period. So how are you going to pay that off? How are you going to make the payments if you just... And his reply was, I have the cash available to wipe this out if I wanted to. Let's go, well, if you've got the cash available just sat there, why get credit? Just buy Bitcoin and don't take the risk of needing to pay it back if anything goes wrong.
Well, looking at it here, so please don't show your holdings as one of the comments. I get it, this is temporary anyways and separate from my actual stack. So this Sonny Poe guy, it may be that his actual cash, which he has, maybe in other investments or maybe in Bitcoin. So he is gambling in a way, but can afford to cover his losses. And it's his little experiment about credit cards.
I want him to be a staple individual on the pod so that we can like kind of track back to it and ensure that, you know, we're not advocating to take any sort of debt. This is not financial advice, but it's interesting to watch and see.
Yeah, his whole situation doesn't personally make sense to me, because he said he's got enough money to cover the debt anyway if anything went wrong. And if that was true, then why take debt? And like I said, it may be Sailor, but like Sailor clearly is leveraging and has already got his entire life sorted, right? He's a billionaire, already has the yachts, multiple houses, cars, the whole shebang, right? So if his Bitcoin investment,
business,
Yeah, he's billions and
Yeah.
billions in shares in his own business. Yeah, he's got money freaking everywhere, right? So when he leverages debt and puts it into his company and then buys Bitcoin with it, you go, yeah, if that all blows up, he loses multiple billions. But guess what? He just falls back on his $1 billion worth of assets that just happen
He
to be
has it
lying around.
personally.
He just sells a few yachts and then he's sorted. It's not the same thing. And this guy is clearly, I think, more like an everyday man. So if this 54K risk he's taking was to go wrong and he was to lose 20 or 30K on this, I think it would seriously impact his life because he wouldn't have assets to sell to kind of,
Yeah.
or assets that he can afford to sell. Maybe he's got a bit of a down payment on a house and he's got a car, but guess what? You freaking need those things. You can't
Yeah.
turn them into cash to pay off a 30 grand deficit on a credit card that you've just taken out. So yeah, so it's if for me, if he's honestly got 54K worth of cash sat in a bank account and he decided to go off and get it on credit instead, it's largely just dumb. I hate the whole thing. Just don't take debt to buy Bitcoin unless you're a billionaire. Just use your available money. You want to be in control. You don't because like you said at the beginning, like Bitcoin clearly goes in cycles, and you don't want to be caught at the wrong end of the cycle when your 0% comes due. Because literally 3 months after that, Bitcoin could 10x, and you're left in the dust because you have to sell a load of it to pay back this debt. It's just
Yeah.
it could really hurt you. You need to hold Bitcoin for 4 to 5 years minimum, just as your first tranche, just to like learn the cycles. And if you're having to come in and out of the market in 12-month cycles as you recycle this 0% debt, it's too risky and just a bit silly. So don't do it. But let's just move on to the this is how Gigachad got his freaking name, right? This next story is nuts. We've covered this. This is like almost like normally I don't put on Gigachad buys because it's just freaking boring at this point. But this one is epic. He's bought 18,300 Bitcoin for 1.11 billion. It's 60K a coin. If you got a load of yield, okay, whatever. They now hold 244,000 Bitcoin acquired for 9.5 billion at average price of $38,000 a coin. So just to repeat that beginning bit again, Saylor in a single buy from MicroStrategy bought 1.1 billion Bitcoin for 18,000 Bitcoin he bought in total. This guy is fucking nuts. But you've got to love it. Who could be more bullish than Saylor? He's already got 8.5 billion of Bitcoin, right? He's already got freaking 1% of the supply. Not happy. I think I remember having the debate on here. Was he going to get to 210,000 Bitcoin? Because I
Yeah.
think he was at like at 195 or something. We're like, oh no, he probably won't get there because it's just
It was him versus BlackRock, wasn't it?
yeah, and BlackRock fucking got there as well,
Yeah.
which is freaking disappointing to see. And then clearly he hit that, and then I honestly thought he would slow down. Like clearly that 210,000 Bitcoin was a bit of a milestone. No, he doesn't give a shit about like round numbers and oh, I have 1% of the supply. He just drops the billion at 60K and adds to his 8.5 billion to add it to 9.5 billion. Talk about conviction. This guy is the most bullish Bitcoiner I think there is because yeah, what a freaking
That is
yeah this is.
putting your money where your mouth is and some.
Because obviously we're at 60K, right? That's like it's $60,000. That the all-time top is 70K. So he's not buying a dip here or anything. Usually, like Sailor's MicroStrategy stacks, when the price is just fluctuating or near the top, he tends to buy a couple of 100 million here or there. Just ticks it over. And then sometimes these big buys come in when we're on a bit of a dip. Sailor clearly thinks we're about to rip. And he's like, why wouldn't I? I have access to a Billy. It's going in. Going in. Why wouldn't I put it into Bitcoin right now? Let's turn that 9.5 billion into 95 billion. Yeah, we literally could be sat here in a year or two's time with Sailor up there with Bezos and Elon Musk. Because if he 10x's this money, he's up there, like.
He, he surpasses them surely. Like,
Well, eventually, yeah. That's what I'm just saying.
yeah,
The first 10x.
yeah,
You know, when there's another
yeah,
10x, he's out on his own and probably is add his wealth and then the next 10 people below him, and he's still number one.
yeah.
Because there's going to, other than freaking BlackRock, obviously they don't appear on any top 10 lists because BlackRock don't technically exist. But yeah.
Do you, yeah, it's interesting actually. At what point do people start following his strategy
Oh, I
and
think all
saying,
pointers are doing it, right? Like it's because
I say that,
always strategy it really is. It's DCA. It's just he
yeah,
obviously also leverages his businesses and his debt, and he can be very clever because he's got very valuable assets and he can get very good interest rates. But clearly, as we saw in story one, the average person seemingly can get 10, 20, 30, 40, 50K worth of 0% debt in America. So if you
yeah.
wanted the sailor strategy, it is leveraging debt as well as going all in on your fiat money. But yeah, I think for the average person, that's too risky. For Sailor, clearly, he's just talk about conviction, right? He wants to go down as a legend, and yeah, we'll see how the next couple of years plays out. But I think there's a strong chance that he goes down as the next Warren Buffett. You know, people are gonna look back in 50 years' time and go, "How did this guy become the richest guy on the planet?" And they're gonna go back to go, "Well, here he is in
Here he is,
2020."
chadding it
There's all
up.
the buys. Yeah, there's all the buys.
Yeah, because he didn't just get lucky. The thing is, like, he's built that wealth as well. He didn't buy a load of Bitcoin at $1 or $10, $100. Jeez, he came in at the 20K. He started buying at 20, and he's still buying a billion at 60. So yeah, the guy is a freaking nutter, but fair play.
The good thing is as well, we know from all of his interviews, Saylor is super smart. And as you know, he articulates the ethos of Bitcoin better than most. Again, I'm just dumbfounded as to why not enough people are jumping on board and thinking this guy's onto something here and publicly declaring that Saylor is right and I'm doing the same as Saylor.
I think for the average normie,
Isn't it an ego?
who's Michael Saylor, who's MicroStrategy. Yeah, because
Mm.
this stuff doesn't get published anywhere else. If you're not on Bitcoin Twitter,
Yeah.
you wouldn't even know who Michael Saylor or MicroStrategy are. Never mind that they got 9.5 billion of Bitcoin and they just bought a billion. Yeah, this doesn't get put on the BBC or on,
Yeah.
you know, Bloomberg.
He is his own case study within himself, isn't he, effectively? And this is what, if anyone's going to go to university for, it could be a whole life and times of Michael Saylor, from the business of MicroStrategy, what he's done and how he's done it. That's a 3-year degree.
Yeah,
Listening to all of his interviews. You write a dissertation on Saylor's interviews. That's perfect.
yeah. His interviews normally consist of usually about one question, then an hour.
Yeah, our pros.
An
Yeah.
hour speech on Bitcoin, and then you might get another word in, and then he goes for another hour. But anyway, we touched on BlackRock before, and they're our next story, or next two stories really, because obviously we touched on it before around the price, and the price hasn't, the ETF got approved at the beginning of this year, and the buys have been incredibly high, billions and billions and billions have gone racketing in. And this next story is that there's rumors circulating that Coinbase is writing Bitcoin IOUs for BlackRock, which would result in suppressing the price. They're essentially going, and obviously we know Coinbase are co-opted by the US government, right? They've been threatened to be shut down. They're a threat to blah blah blah. They're scamming. It's selling unregistered securities. We covered a few of their stories around the SEC trying to sue them. All that stuff just went away, right? And as we know, when stuff just disappears, you go, there's been some compromise being made here. And Coinbase have basically agreed to a load of things. What did they agree to allow them to still function?
Mm-hmm.
And surprise, surprise, Coinbase are behind the majority of the ETFs. The majority of the ETFs all use Coinbase as their custodian to buy and secure their Bitcoin. So there's a theory out there that suggests that the money is being collected by the ETFs and they just send notes to Coinbase to go, yeah, just like, we've just bought another 1,000 Bitcoin. Can you just write it on our chart? Don't buy it, just write it. Give us an IOU for 1,000 Bitcoin. And that would largely explain why the price is not at 300k a coin right now, which based on the amount of buying pressure, you would have expected it to go well above the all-time high that we had previously, right? There's a completely new pipe of money coming into Bitcoin by these ETFs, and the activity has been huge in there. So the theory is that Coinbase aren't buying the Bitcoin. They're just adding into a spreadsheet how many Bitcoin they owe these ETFs, but they're not actually buying it. So following on from that, Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, has come out and basically countered these rumors and saying, nope, we aren't going to show you the addresses of the Bitcoin that we store the ETFs on, because we don't want you basically sending Bitcoin to it and being annoying fuckers. He's absolutely right. Bitcoiners would absolutely do that just to be annoying. But you could do it in some shape or form, just publish the numbers, just say it, just say that these different ETFs have this much Bitcoin and we confirm we have it in cold storage. In his reply, he does not say that. Instead, he just goes, if you want audits, then Deloitte audits us and we're a public company, so therefore trust us, bro. And we just go, well, guess what? I don't trust you and I don't trust Deloitte, because if the conspiracy theory is correct, where you are essentially now a US asset and you are being basically strong-armed to pull out this type of fraud and basically pretend to buy an asset and not buy it, then guess what? I don't trust Deloitte, who are the biggest auditing company in the world, that would clearly also be able to be strong-armed into not auditing that part of your company.
Who owns Deloitte's? Do BlackRock own 10%?
Without even looking it up, I can guarantee they do. Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Like what's the best company if you're going to be like a corrupt deep state? What's the company that you really want? Not only do you want to own obviously the governments and the banks, but the next thing you want to own the regulators and the auditors, because then you can just go
Correct.
Turn a blind eye here, but then look extra careful over this one because we want to get them. These boys, look, they're doing this and this, but just say it's all fine. So it's a bit. I thought Brian's reply was quite interesting because it basically is summarized with "trust us, bro."
Yeah.
And I understand him not wanting to share the Bitcoin addresses so we can look it up on the Bitcoin blockchain to see whether that's the amount of Bitcoin on the addresses, because we could send Bitcoin to those addresses and then suddenly get all their totals out of kilter. Just send them 4 sats just to fuck them off. But there's plenty of ways of anomalizing that and just coming forward and just going, I categorically, a lot of these ETFs, the value and the amount of Bitcoin in them is relatively public. So if he just came forward and went, I can confirm that the 6 ETFs that we take custody of their Bitcoin for, we have this much Bitcoin on these 6 ETFs, categorically in cold storage, that would be a big thing to say. Because if it then comes out later that he was lying in those IOUs, as the CEO of a public limited company, that would be a criminal offense that he could do jail time for, even though the people that would be putting him in jail are the people paying him to do this fraud. So he probably wouldn't go to prison, but still, the fact he doesn't say anything as explicit as that makes me just think he's trying to make this go away. But for me, this just makes the conspiracy seem even more real.
It's strange that we've been in this situation now, as you say, for 6 months, and the price has not exploded. And we as Bitcoiners are all sat here knowing and saying, this doesn't feel right. It doesn't smell or look right at all. So something's going on, which is why the story still to this day is going on. We dig and dig and dig, and we love the transparency. And I know we've said this before, but with Bitcoin, we want to know everything and anything that goes about around it and with it. And we won't let it go until we're satisfied. And so this story of trust us, bro, is not going away. I don't get how he thinks that just putting this little statement out is going to be satisfactory to the masses, when everybody, especially in this world, is more like, nah, it's not good enough.
Yeah.
The
follow-up I would probably do is go, all right, Deloitte audit you. All right, let me speak to the Deloitte auditor, and can he categorically confirm that each of the ETFs have the amount of Bitcoin that they say they have in it? Let's see the report that says that. And because the thing is, like, when they tend to lie like this, they don't like to make a lie that is very black and white, easily provably wrong. They'll do a type of lie that Brian's just done there. That when it comes out later that they only held 1% of the Bitcoin they should own, he'll be able to unwind that and go, oh, we're just doing fractional reserve. It was a mistake, business. You can, because he didn't explicitly say he holds custody of every coin that the ETF is supposed to hold. He doesn't say that in there. He basically goes, well, Deloitte audit us and they wouldn't let us get away with that. So, well, let's see the Deloitte audit then that confirms that you hold the amount of Bitcoin that you should do for each of these ETFs. Well, that will never come. That'll be an internal document that is too private to share. So, it comes down to trust us, bro. And obviously, we all predicted this at the beginning. It was, could BlackRock come in, take the majority of the ETF capacity and not buy Bitcoin with it? Just hold it there. And it looks like that's literally what's happening. It's really annoying. There's a load of people out there that think they're buying Bitcoin, and obviously they're not buying Bitcoin, they're buying paper Bitcoin. But it's even worse than that. They're buying IOU paper Bitcoin.
Yeah. It never says 1-to-1 or like for like, does it? I'm just reading through his statement a few times there. So he has worded it in such a way.
Because I remember actually, Brian is actually got a good track record historically, because he's got challenged with saying, what about the Coinbase reserves? Do you do fractional reserves at Coinbase? So when you say you have 20,000 Bitcoin held in customer accounts in Coinbase, say, do you actually hold 20,000 Bitcoin? Or you somehow fractional and you're in different coins, in cash, and so essentially there could be a bank run on Coinbase. Everyone just withdrew their Bitcoin. Could you collapse Coinbase? He's explicitly come out in the past and gone, no, for every single coin we hold, however much our customers have of that coin, we back it 1-to-1. And he said that explicitly. He did not say explicitly there that he backs the ETF 1-to-1, which almost by the process of elimination, the fact he's admitted that means he doesn't do it. Because if he did, he would have said it. Because he's done
Yeah.
it. He's done
Yeah.
it before. As
Because
Coinbase,
you say that, it goes away. The rumor goes
Yeah.
away. At least, or because we've got something tangible to then hang our hats on to say, well, you said you back it 1-to-1 there on this date and time. And then obviously we won't see it because they're not sharing it explicitly, but we can go on that date and time you said it.
yeah. Because I remember when he did it on Coinbase, it did give me a level of confidence in Coinbase as a company. I think I'd already been banned at that point, but I was like, fair play. At least you've come out and gone, however many Bitcoin or Ethereum and all these various coins you have on your platform, at least you actually have them.
It's not like
You've
get
explicitly
banned.
come out as a CEO of a public limited company and gone, for every single random wallet that customers have of coins, we aren't fractional and we don't just hold Bitcoin or cash and then just if you want to sell a load of Bitcoin, then suddenly we don't actually hold Bitcoin. We actually are mainly in cash, and if Bitcoin 10x's, they get caught with their pants down, and the company goes bust, and a load of customers lose money because they don't have the Bitcoin there to withdraw. He said he backs it 1-to-1, which I was like, fair play. That's a really good thing to say because it's very tempting to become what the banks do, which essentially is to take your customer funds and start gambling them. Start loaning out the money and all that kind of stuff. And he went, nope, we don't do that. We back all our funds 1-to-1. We don't do anything with it. We don't loan it out. Don't mess about. So if customers want to withdraw every single coin tomorrow, they can. It's available. Obviously, the company won't be doing too well at the end of that because they've lost all their customers, right? But they wouldn't go insolvent. They wouldn't run out at 20 or 30% of the people take it out, and then suddenly the final 70% get nothing because there's no money left. It's all being loaned out to freaking Blackrock. Yeah, so I think fundamentally it's dodgy as fuck, isn't it? Like it looks like Blackrock.
Yeah.
They are the Trojan horse, aren't they? They just freaking are. They've come, but I don't think they're even a Trojan horse. They're just a horse. They've just walked through the front door
Yeah.
and they've gone, we're here to fuck up Bitcoin. We've gone, welcome in. Do you want some water, some food? And they've come in and they're the number one selling ETF. Loads of people are fucking putting their pensions funds into Bitcoin, and all they're really doing is moving noughts and ones into a BlackRock account. And I'd be amazed to find out that a single Bitcoin has been brought as part of these freaking ETFs, especially the BlackRock one. So annoying. But obviously, no one should ever put money into the BlackRock ETF. Of course, you shouldn't. But it would be nice to get some freaking gains out of it. But we're not even getting that. We're just freaking getting flat.
What would be not funny, but funny, is that it was just there in plain sight from the very beginning, though. We always said it. So when it happens, we shouldn't be like, oh, how did this happen?
It's just to stall Bitcoin, isn't it, for a few years, make it look flat. But yeah, pissing me off. We've covered Brian
Sound
Armstrong.
issues there from me.
I am.
Should we move on?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's move on to taxation. Weirdly, I just had I've got a new mate. Well, not a new mate, a new Bitcoiner who is coming into Bitcoin. He's just setting up his ledger right now.
It sounds like a friend. Bitcoin
Bitcoin
friend.
It's actually one of my school friends who's been sat on the sidelines for far too long. But it's one of those weird occasions where something bad's happened, where essentially a close family member has died, but then inheritance kind of falls down the chain. So they've landed in some money and they've gone, you've been banging on about this Bitcoin thing. I want to get some. How do I buy it? How do I secure it? Da, 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 da. So yeah, he's going through the process now, and it's fair play. Anyway, taxation. What do we want to talk? Let's have a look at the story. So yeah, this is just it's a guy from the UK, right? And obviously we know this, but I just saw this and just went, yeah, he is right. But I'm not sure what I want to do about it other than putting my money into Bitcoin.
What's the ISA rules changing?
Hold on, we'll get to that. So tax attacks incoming, capital gains, inheritance wouldn't even rule out. There aren't anything categorically on these ones, so wouldn't even rule out unrealized gains, ISA rules changing, pension rules changing. The money spent on taxes considered good money after bad. So yeah, so how do you avoid this? Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. You get the picture. There is no second best. Because yeah, capital gains. Well, that's halved. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the inheritance tax.
Apparently Labour want to lower it because they're saying our money gets retained by families. But I'm like, well,
That's the whole fucking point.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I can manage to save money and pass it down to my kids, that's what I want to do.
It's actually disgusting that politicians can say that out loud and go, families that were gaining their wealth, and people go, that's a bad thing.
But funnily enough, Prince Charles didn't have to do it, did he?
Exactly.
Once Queen,
Exactly.
And they went, but we'd suddenly have to start divvying up all his castles and all his freaking thousands and thousands of acres of freaking National Trust land. But like, well, we have to fucking do it, you prick.
But you can go through life.
I have 7 acres and I die. They want 2 of them.
You got your income tax. You've got your national insurance. There's also the employer's national insurance, and then you've also got the company tax for the company you're paying for. So all the kind of like tax which is affecting your income. Then you've got VAT, you've got fuel duty, you've got council tax, you've got capital gains, you've got inheritance. So it's literally, and you've probably got ones which I've missed out as well. So like I've worked it out. And I think for anyone who's in like the 40% band, in reality, you're paying more like early 60% first-hand tax. Then you consider everything which you buy with that 40%, which you've actually got from your paycheck. You've got second and third-hand tax on it. So literally you're down to a few percent because it's going into the government non-stop. I mean, it's like, we've run out of money. We can't quite do all that we want to. Bettering lower the capital gains, lower the increment for inheritance, and put unrealized gains so we can have more tax. It's just like, do you want more heroin or have you got a heroin problem? It's just like, I think you've got a bit of a fucking spending problem, haven't you? How about you make the government more efficient, and then I'm sure you can find all those extra pounds. But instead, it's like, well, no, we're going to do all this. We're going to have all these kind of like things in place, which basically mean that we have further regulation, we have further need for government, we have further dependence. Let's throw in the UBI so we can tax more. I mean, it's just, you end up with this eternal cycle where you're heavily dependent on the government. They're basically they're justifying their own job, and it's pissing me off that they're even daring to contemplate increasing tax. I think about those Americans, what was it, hundreds of years ago, who had the big riots and kicked out the British for 4% on tea tax.
I don't think it was even 4%. I think it was lower than that.
I think it's 4% for tea. So it wasn't for like their income, it was for fucking importing tea.
Just for the
And here we are, they're like, oh, we should tax you more. It's like, I want to help out the country because I'm a patriot. Maybe I'll let them have more of my money. It's just like, oh, how about we go fuck off?
And they still celebrate Independence Day like the land of the free now. You go, bro, you should be killing to go back to just having 4% tax on your tea. You don't even drink tea.
I was going to say, not everyone drink fucking tea, and Kamala's there going unrealized gains, and it's just like, now that's a big thing across the world. It's like, fuck me, is everyone that stupid that that's your way out?
It was 3 cents per pound tax on tea arriving.
3%, then,
But those unrealized gains, bro.
I know.
They're going to help out the poor. Trust me, bro.
It's nuts because it's weird as well because like the cap gains one, that one still angers me. That the fact that in the UK they have halved that from 11.5K down to 6.
And then to 3. So it's due for the 3
Yeah.
one, is it this year? And
And
then Labour might do something on top of that.
and the 11.5 was there for a number of decades. So really that was put there to be essentially the equivalent of a 50 plus K
If it's
amount
ever,
of profit, which basically means you are now making off your investments in profit more than the average salary, which I kind of go, all right, fine, in this weird taxation system, if you're making more than the average salary on your investments, I guess you in government land you tax it. But the fact that they didn't increase that, they should have kept increasing it to just adjust for inflation. They halved it, then they're going to halve it again, which basically now means, I've got like, just average family members, right, that just have a couple of grand worth of shares or, 5 grand here worth of shares. And then a bit of Bitcoin here and there, and maybe they're looking to sell a little bit here and there. And it's just like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, have you thought about the tax implications? They're like, what? I'm like, well,
Yeah.
you're about to sell like a relatively substantial amount of those shares, plus you said you're going to sell a bit of Bitcoin or whatever to pay for this house or extension, whatever you might be doing. And they're like, oh, what's capital gains? Like, it's that. So I think we're just going to fall into the same freaking category where a lot of people don't even know this freaking thing exists, but then eventually they're going to start enforcing it. And you're literally just falling, like literally when it goes down to 3K, like, come on, let's be really brutally honest with that. That is absolutely nothing in the modern world. And so what they're basically saying now is if you can make any money anywhere, we're taxing it. And that when they get the unrealized gains in, that's absolutely fucking nuts because that's not even you haven't technically made the money yet because you haven't clicked sell.
One thing that I not happy about, but feel vindicated, I think is the word, is the fact that, on the whole pensions, we've been saying for a while, like, don't trust pensions, especially because the government could change the rules at any time, and everyone's been like, no, 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 they won't do that. Well, here it is. Or here it's coming, potentially. And all of our words are now coming to light when it actually happens, because they're looking at potentially getting rid of that 25% tax free at the beginning, and then we don't know.
But they slice that with unrealized gains and capital gains. Then it's just like they are literally shutting off the exits. Like you
Correct.
cannot retire without a state pension. There is
Correct.
no way out unless you are from serious wealth.
Or Bitcoin.
I think it's to the point that if they bring in these view, it's like, can you move countries? It is getting to that point even for a normal person. Like, I'd say I'm normal. I'm not Mr. All In. I'm not a trillionaire. But I'd be like, I think I may need to leave the country because I will never be able to retire like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or hopefully what I'm really, really hoping for is the whole do not comply. If they bring out a new tax, right, that just says, oh,
in fairness, it's what stopped all the lockdowns and masking because people just stopped it. It wasn't because they wanted to. It's because everyone stopped in the end.
Yeah, they just lost their rag, didn't they? Stop wearing masks, started going out.
Yeah, it's like I'm seeing my parents, I'm seeing this family, I'm going to see them, I'm going to integrate because I can't go on like this.
The police can only stop cars if there's only like 10 cars a day going out. It's very easy to stop 10. If everybody goes out and there's millions of cars on the road, they can't stop everyone. And it's the same with the tax. If they bring out a new tax that says, oh, you owe us this money, just don't pay it. If
they'll start off,
don't pay, they'll get us.
They'll start off going, oh, it's only for people over 10 million. It's only for people of 10 million.
Yeah.
And what does that mean to everyone else? Oh, guess what's going to happen over the next 20, 30 years? The needed money to retire on a really basic retirement will be 10 million.
Yep.
You'll all be fucking taxed.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a load of people listening to this being like, yeah, no, yeah, you're wrong. Even if that does happen, it's probably 100 years away, so I don't need to worry. Well, let's give you a chart that tells you to go shut the fuck up, because here we are. So we got a Bob Beener. Don't know who this person is, but they have a great chart here. Unrealized gains or losses on investment securities tracked since 2008 to 2024. So here we have, there was a load of losses back in 2008. Only went down to minus 75 billion. That caused the 2008 financial crash, where the price of housing went through the floor and millions of people were left homeless when the housing market collapsed, mainly in America. But
so this is basically any kind of investment, isn't it?
Yeah, any investment security.
So,
yeah.
So like the S&P is still going up. That's an example, isn't it? But this is more the kind of like smaller firms which are falling apart, aren't they?
Yeah, it's basically who's making the money. Yeah, obviously, if the stock market is up, then it doesn't necessarily mean that overall that the investments are up overall. So you can see the recovery, small little dips, and we had a big wobble 2018, 2019, and that was just before the pandemic, weirdly. And then so they printed a shit ton of money, got out of that trouble. But then look, when that lockdown finished and the real life cost happened.
That's really interesting that 2019 they had that big wobble.
Yeah, if anything, it would give them motive to create a fake pandemic, wouldn't it? To give everyone.
Say, it almost fits into one of your conspiracy theories. I mean, couple this with what we're talking about, but I won't be hit by unrealized gains. It's way out of my league. But you look at income tax when that's brought in, it's brought in for the top, what is it, 2% or something like that? And now everyone pays an income tax, and it's been that way for many a year as well. So it's coming. If you think unrealized gains is just for the top 1%, you're sadly mistaken. Or even if you think it's for the top 0.01%, you're sadly mistaken. It's going to get everyone.
And just for anyone listening, the final chart on this diagram that starts in 2022 goes to 2024, it now goes to minus 675 billion. And the previous all-time low in a single year it's about minus 100, which is around the 2018 mark. But what caused the financial crisis was minus 75 billion. That amount of loss in the security market caused a worldwide collapse in house prices and global government bailouts of the biggest banks to keep them going and actually allow people's deposits to still be there in the morning, because they technically were gone. Everybody that had money in the bank in 2008 lost everything. The only reason it was still there in the end is because they printed a shit ton of money and put it all back. Now, when we look at the situation we're in today, and everyone's saying it's okay, we've avoided the hard landing, we've avoided the recession, everyone was doom and gloom saying that lockdown was going to cause all these problems, and people are largely going, we survived it, it's largely fine, now we're out in the clear. Look at this chart. These big black lines that go into the negatives that are 5 times bigger than what happened in 2008. And the scary thing is we haven't had the consequences. All we've got is the chart. The chart tells us pain, misery, blood in the streets. That's what that chart says. But at the moment, everyone's running around getting 0% loans, buying stuff. I saw, weirdly, someone reposted a tweet from Pomp today that said that 39% of mortgages in the US have all paid off, right? And he was seemingly saying this was bullish on the American economy. And straight away, my reply is, yeah, it's because everyone under 40 can't even have a mortgage. They all rent. So yeah, all that's happening is the boomers are either dying or paying off mortgages, but there's not the new entrants at the bottom. That's the only reason,
Yeah.
because the 39% of all paid off mortgages is one of the all-time highs. That's one of the highest rate of the amount of mortgages that are out that are now paid off. It's like an all-time high statistic. It's been in the low 30s historically over the last 20 or 30 years. So we're on an all-time high of 39%. But that's just lying with data, Pomp. Like you're literally you're spreading fiat propaganda here because we'll go and ask the average 22-year-old, do you have a mortgage? Does he fuck? Ask the average 30-year-old if they have a mortgage. No, he doesn't either. They're all renting. So they should have mortgages at this point that they could pay off at a decent rate and retire at a decent age. They're not even on the ladder, which is why the percentage mortgages getting paid off is going up and up and up because people are either dying or paying them off. No one's coming in the bottom to increase the amount of people taking out the new mortgages. So
Whenever I
it's
see
going to be an
pop
interesting
up, I
couple of
feel
years, I
like
think.
we're at the top.
What was that, sorry?
Whenever I see pop up, I feel like we're at the top because he's been very quiet as of late.
He's not talking about Bitcoin.
And
He's talking about bollocks mortgages. He's trying to pivot into his investment stuff, I think. And
yeah,
and if anything, it's just exposing him for being just an engagement farmer. I don't know if he posted it on purpose to like get rage engagement because it worked on me.
You should stick to selling beds.
Those pillows are cool.
No, it's beds. It's whole. It's
But
like a twist system. It's where you pump the air into the mattress. Looks quite cool.
Yeah. It's the mattress. That feels like a lifetime ago watching his shows with his brothers and his sister there, and let's give away Bitcoin, and it's like, wow.
Do you know who else is freaking now a blast in the past? You know Pedro, but you know what Bitcoin did is gone now.
Yeah, he's ended it. He wants to start something else, but he hasn't said what yet.
He has.
Well,
he's got a new pod. It's called Mr. Obnoxious.
Oh my god!
He announced it.
Why doesn't he just call it Mr. Stupid?
Well, he announced it on LinkedIn, so I replied, going, "Why didn't you call it Mr. Pedro?" And he just blocked me. But yeah. So even he seemingly I don't hate on it massively. I think he's still going to have a Bitcoin thread throughout, but he's just going into wider like topics, largely around the conspiracy theory type angle, I think. So yeah, but whatever. But yeah, it's another example like Pomp and Pedro. I mean, they're both like of the same cut from the same cloth, really. That they come into Bitcoin thinking that they know better. They spend a bit of time here, and then but they're influencers, right? They need to keep the scam going.
Yeah, the rebrand, the refresh, and stuff like that. And I'm sure listeners right now are worried that the 4Bs is going to turn into something else.
Well, yeah, exactly. Once we start
getting
I
really like those Simba pillows and Simba mattresses. Everyone should buy one.
Just put in the code Dr. Evil for 10% off your first purchase.
Yeah, exactly.
It writes itself.
This show was brought to you by the 4Cs.
Right. Should we it's moving on to inflation, our favorite topic. It's been leading to this.
He's been waiting for this.
To the crescendo. I quite like this post. It's quite a good way of putting it. So I think I saw the original one a while ago. So this is, can someone please explain to me when they say inflation's going down, but it isn't, it's more and more expensive. I thought this is it's an honest question. Because you think about the language, the terminology which is used by governments, banks to hide it from the people. kind of going, but it's going down. Why the fuck is my food shop still costing as much? It's meant to have gone down, but I swear it's gone up by a few pounds. And John Michaels puts it perfectly here. I used to weigh 200 pounds. In 2020, I gained £5. In 2021, I gained 11. In 2022, 9. In 2023, 6. But this year, I've only gained £3. So my weight gain is down, or my inflation is down, but now I weigh 234 pounds. I think this is a great explanation, because I wish I'd come across this when I was 25 or so, because it confused the hell out of me when inflation used to be talked about.
Yeah, because by inflation being down, when they say it's down, they don't mean it's negative. We're not in deflation. It's just gone down from 15-20% to their made up 2 or 3. Which, yeah, if you were trying to control your weight, it still means however fat you were, you're still getting fatter, just less fast.
Yeah.
Maybe you were putting on a stone a year before. Now you're only putting on half a stone. I halved my weight gain. Isn't that great? It's like, have you halved your weight? No. I've halved my weight gain. I'm still gaining half a stone a year. Like, you're a fat fuck now, and you're going to continue getting fatter. Your problem's going to continue to get worse, right? And relay it back to the money. The money is out of control. They've inflated it well beyond its means. Things are crazy expensive. You look at the news and they're like, inflation's under control, which suddenly people go, shouldn't the prices be coming down? No, the prices are going to stay that high and actually continue to get higher, just less fast than they have previously. And it's just yet another tool, I think, for the kit bag, really, to go, because I have struggled so much with trying to explain inflation to the average NPC out there. It's just goes straight over their heads, because I think the propaganda on inflation is so strong, and people the politicians and the media just parrot inflation's under control. Cost of living crisis is over.
Or greedy companies, like
the price gouging.
I remember the wife said it a few years ago, and obviously she got that look, and she got the explanation.
What, the come to bed eyes, or the it was kind of talking about inflation.
It was just inflation. It's like the rage, and it was like, do you really
think inflation weekly, baby?
I was just like, do you really think all the companies have ganged up together across the whole world and put the price up, or do you think the money which you've got has been devalued? And I just think in some of the comments they're saying it's stupid, people don't ask the question, but it's hidden. It's deliberately mistermed in order to hide it. So great one. I think it's one which anyone who's listening should pass on to friends and family, just to give them a little bit of knowledge.
Yeah, imagine if you did have that mate, right, that literally came to you and went, "Oh, I used to put on £1 a month. Now I'm only putting on £0.5. High five." You go, "No, bro, like, until you're down to 0, at least now you've stopped the problem, but I'll high five you once you're in even negative £0.1. Now you're at least solving the problem. Now, the longer time goes, if you continue on that path, you are going to get better and better and better." At no point has any government in the entire globe said that they will do deflation, or they'll go negative. The bottom, the absolute stonewall bottom, is 0. They'll keep the problem the same. And then, but really they go, but a healthy, stimulated economy needs 2 to 3%. So that's what they target. They target 2 or 3%. And because they tell us that's the target, and they tell us that's what's good, everyone goes, "Oh, 2 or 3% is fine." But no, but guess what? If they've just had 20 for the last 3 years running, what they should do is have a -20 for the next 3 years running to correct that. And then if you honestly think 2 to 3% inflation is good, then go back to 2 to 3. They at least correct the bad years to actually put prices back. But they never do. Prices only ever go in one direction, which is up. They never come back down.
It sounds like you don't want to stimulate the economy. Should we move on to the next inflation?
Yeah.
It's double hard on week. Two inflation stories. Is this always forget, is this Rampel or is this Rompel?
Ron.
So it's a short video. Are you going to play it?
Oh, yeah.
Just a minute.
What I picked out of this, so on this video, is that he talks about it's gone up by 1 trillion. Was it in 3 months, wasn't it? So it's got the potential to be 4 trillion over a year. So I think he said it took years to go up to 1 trillion. Now it's going very, very quickly within 3 months. So if it was 4 trillion per year, which it actually would be a little bit more, wouldn't it? Because that's cumulative effect, because they're taking they're taking the same percentage potentially. But if you look at it, 4 trillion over a year, it's 12% inflation, which is, well, it's not directly how it works, but they're taking out 12% bigger debt or debt against your future earnings. So potentially the following year, it's going to be sitting at not 32, it's going to be sitting at 36. So it's 12% of 36. So we keep on rolling and rolling, and we end up with $100 trillion debt. So I think my kind of point about this is they probably need to look at its percentages, because I think apart from their exception years, they are hiding it, like 10% or so as a true number, which we always talk about over years, but it has just accumulated. So now we're looking at higher and higher numbers going forwards, but then we are ending up with events strangely happening a lot closer to each other, and we're ending up with those massive shock years. Yeah. If you actually look in the comments about this one, there's one, bear with me, I was just going to dig it out. There's one which talks about the debt clock. We know So Never Look loves the debt clock. And this one, Warrior Dad 50, says in 2018, it was 17 trillion. So it's nearly doubled in 6 years. And this is something which we've talked about for the last few years, about how inflation hasn't been 10, 12% per year. It's been 20, 30%. So accumulated over that 6 years now, it's half your value of your money. And that's horrendous. So that's why your shop has gone so much. Like, we've noticed it particularly on our food shop. It has just absolutely gone through the roof lately.
Yeah, same. The food shop is ridiculous, but equally the manufacturers know this by putting shorter dates on food as well. So therefore, you're having to go back to the shop to buy more food, and it's just that spiral. I am a fan of the debt clock, I can't lie. But it's just fascinating to think that it's there in plain sight as the numbers continue to go up and up and up. And the way to solve it is something that is so simple, which is spend less. And they can't do it. I know you said this, Mr. Orlin, it doesn't matter which colour that you're voting for, whether it's red or blue, both sides need to spend less.
Well, you say spend less, but it's basically you need to take. It's like giving someone a credit card, and they can keep on spending no matter what. There's no incentive for them to stop spending because there's no repercussions. So I think you can talk about this. You can talk, we're going to have austerity, we're going to do this or that. But until you take the credit card away, which is a money printer, and actually put them on a hard money standard, so even bloody gold would be better, because then you get your magical 2% inflation. But instead, it's limitless. If they want to print off 40% in a year, or if you want to be Nigeria or whoever it is who's doing Venezuela 1,000% a year, they can. Until you make it so they've got a debit card and not a credit card, it continues. There's no incentive for them to stop. There's no incentive to make the government departments more efficient. There's no incentive to make regulation less, because they'd have to control more. Their incentive is to make government bigger, make their jobs more important.
Yeah, and don't forget, it's not even it's not just greed at this point. It's almost to keep the Ponzi scheme going, they have to keep printing more.
Yeah.
Because the and obviously confidence is waning on the money they print. So if they just printed the same amount as last year, it wouldn't buy themselves as much stuff because the confidence in their money is waning. So they have to print more to account for that. So it ends up just being, we're just printing money to try and not let this Ponzi collapse just yet. We're looking for the answer. And obviously we know what their answer is. Yeah, that's the whole Great Reset stuff, the WEF, global communism. That's the natural conclusion that ends up in a single world government and everything, all the price gets reset. And by and large, I would expect a single global currency redenominated.
It sounds really good because everyone's equal, apart from the overlords, and they get to sit overs with all the assets. But they're all right, aren't they? We can trust them.
Yeah, we'll own nothing and be happy.
Eat the bugs and get back in your pod.
Yeah.
We'll be knocking on your door every day. You're still rolling. You are hiding
shotgun to the kneecaps.
You are hiding shit posters underneath your floorboards, aren't you?
I'm the shit
Caption this.
Hiding myself under my own floorboards.
Yeah.
You think you're funny? Posting memes about taxation is theft.
But I thought what was even more prominent about that video we just shared is obviously it's Elon. It's Elon Musk is tweeting about this. He's literally quote tweeted that whole post saying the government spending caused inflation. End of story. Which just that is nice because people try and give a load of factors as to no, inflation is caused by multiple things and it's all very complicated. You wouldn't understand. Government overspending caused inflation. End of story. Correct. That is why prices still keep rising. Stop government overspending to end inflation. Like there you go. This is Elon. This isn't a Bitcoiner because this is just the richest guy on the planet. Got 200 million followers on Twitter, and he's giving it. You almost can't say it plainer than that. So, will some people maybe wake up and go, "Oh, when we're told on TV that stimulating the economy and inflation is caused by multiple factors, and it's so complicated, you won't get it." You just said like it's just government spending. That's what causes it. As always,
how are we going to stimulate the economy?
I put a finger up his ass.
Should we move on to our next favorite subject? Talk about inflation, which we love, and we all know that we love paying our taxes.
Yeah, this is a great meme. I just loved it. So why are cigarettes taxed? Does this disincentivize smoking, of course? Why is income taxed? ... NPC gets frustrated.
To build the roads, of course.
There you
go. And then if you look one down, the top comment is when she goes through your phone, but all she finds are taxation is theft memes.
Yeah.
I think if I went through my photos, she'd just find all these Bitcoin memes which I save and I send to the group every week.
Yeah, it's so true though, right? Because literally, like, why do we put high taxes on alcohol and on cigarettes? And they literally tell us the reason why. It's because they want to make things artificially expensive to disincentivize people doing these bad things that are clearly damaging to their health. And then at a later stage, the same society then needs to contribute to helping those people through these health conditions. So it ends up being you tax them, you're going to buy a load of alcohol, you're going to buy a load of cigarettes, then essentially what you end up doing is prepaying for the health care that you're going to need later on. It's almost like a forced tax to pay for your healthcare that is inevitably coming later. And you go, all right, that largely makes sense. Why do you tax my income? Why do you tax my investments? why do you tax my inheritance? And suddenly you go, oh, do they want to disincentivize you giving money to your children? Do they want to disincentivize you just earning money for yourself? Do they want to disincentivize you from doing investments and trying to get out the rat race? Yes to all of the above. The obviously, the main reason for tax, as Bukaleli articulately said, probably a couple of months ago, is just to give the illusion that fiat has value. It's the only reason they collect it. They don't need it. They can print infinite of it, but they need to take it back off you just to give the illusion that it has value. But really, also the additional reason why they tax you is just to make sure you stay poor. They want to disincentivize you from getting out of the game. They want you to work as an NPC in some kind of rat race job until you die, and then hopefully you die as quickly as possible because you're a drain on society the second you're not productive. And let's throw you in the ground and fucking move on. And that's and I think it's great to have that kind of conversation on these wokey cokey. Oh, do you agree with the tax laws? And they'll be like, yeah, I think people should contribute more. All right. Why do we tax cigarettes? Oh, to stop people smoking, that's why they're so high. Why do we tax income then? To disincentivize people earning more money? That doesn't sound very sensible, does it? Their brains just
There is no answer. Yeah, there is no answer to that.
No, because the problem is it's the whole there's comfortable truths and inconvenient what's it? Oh God, comforting lies and uncomfortable truths, that's the one. And taxation and the wokey cokey crowd get told the comforting lies variant of it, which is just we pay our taxes to help the less vulnerable and to help society and to be part of a society. That's why we pay our taxes. That's and to have a functioning society to work on a global scale, we all need to contribute into a global pot, and that's why we do it. Once you realize that they don't need the money for that, they have the money printer. Why do they really tax us? And why do they tax us so severely once you start earning over certain amounts of money? It's to disincentivize you to even have the ambition to get there. Stay in your lane, earn minimum wage. Then you're on the lowest tax bracket. Congrats, bro. Lowest tax bracket. The more you earn, the more we tax. Oh my, it's man, when people write the history books on this, if we're still here in 100 years' time as a human race, I genuinely think this stage of our civilization will be the most hilarious. But how the hell
Well, why do you think aliens haven't landed on Earth?
They're going retarded, that's why.
They're trying to tax each other for producing carbon.
But they're made of carbon.
Yeah. And it's like they're also trying to tax for producing CO2, which produces all their food and vegetation, which promotes wildlife.
And they're closing their farms down and
trying to centralize it. They're trying to make them produce non-natural food. Maybe they're not ready to meet us yet.
Just move on. No intelligent life form found. Move on.
Right. Final one. Final story, isn't it? About F. So I think I'll pick up one thing. This is a nice long article about no conviction and Ethereum, because you always see these shitcoiners post on Twitter, don't you, saying how it's going to be flippening, the great F and whatever else that altcoins are. But here's the main point. It's been 9 years and Ethereum still hasn't found a valid use case. Nobody uses it for anything. And as I say to people, it's, what do they call it? The internet of everything, or rather the internet of nothing. You still got your F, so have a look.
Still there. It's not moved.
It's been trending extremely badly. I've seen a lot of Bitcoin and Ethereum charts, and it's the thing.
Right.
Ethereum's dead, right? This is why I put on here, like, why not to buy shitcoins? Reason number 174,000, right? It's
Yeah.
and the first line of the tweet says it already. Nobody in Ethereum has conviction like what I see in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And it's so true, because guess what? Bitcoin has stayed consistent in the fact that it's sound money. It's better money than fiat for a whole host of reasons. And it's it's provable. You can jump into the code, you can jump into the data. And that's, this guy pulls out Michael Saylor, Jack Mallers, Parker Lewis. You can hear the conviction in their voice and in your bones when they talk about Bitcoin, because it's true. And we're fighting against fiat. Very obvious who our enemy is, or at least what's the competitive product that we're trying to displace. Fiat is the product that is used today. Is Bitcoin better? Clearly it is, and you can have super high conviction on why those things are true, which is why we talk about it every single fucking week, right? But if you're in Ethereum land, who's your spokesperson?
And there's no advocate for it either.
No. It's a load of fucking degens and NFT shillers on Twitter that just have cat emojis and cat pictures as their profile pictures. And the problem is none of them have a following that is consistent. None of them you can hear on podcast or end up on TV clearly articulating the use case for their shitcoin of choice. This guy's pulled out Ethereum, but just your shitcoin of choice, because every couple of years they have to pivot and move to a different use case, and they pivot again because they keep failing on what they're trying to do, because fundamentally they can't deliver on it, because it's just a fucking token on a database. It's not decentralized. It's not anything. It's a shitcoin that is only there to enrich the creators of that coin. It isn't solving a real life problem. And I think what surprised me in here, it's like, Ethereum, it's been 9 years now, and it's not used for anything. And even the ETF, I didn't even realize. Apparently, there's a ETH ETF now.
Yes, it was approved, I think, in one of the weeks of which we didn't record, and it's just again gone under the radar.
No one bought it.
No one bought it. But
It's
I think
been
Wall
live for a
Street were
while.
trying
No one
to.
bought it. No, because no one gives a shit. Because the problem is, if you're an investor, you go, right, why am I buying this asset?
Yeah.
And the problem is, when Ethereum was young and a lot of these shitcoins were young, you get away with, oh, we're gonna do everything. You go, all right, that sounds freaking great, but after a while, you go, right, you haven't done everything. What's the something you are going to do? And after 9 years, it's like, right, you need to have fucking done something at this point. And they still have done nothing. They've done nothing. Whereas in Bitcoin land, we're sound money. El Salvador have it. There's the ETF, it's all approved there. Millions and millions, hundreds of millions of users. And we have sound money. It is still sound money. We have a fixed supply. And it's decentralized, send money to anyone, anywhere, anytime. No authority can stop you. Bitcoin's still delivering on what Satoshi created on day one, and it largely has not changed. All these shitcoins promised the world, delivered nothing. It's 9 years later, still delivered nothing. And I think that this guy that has tweeted that tweet that is obviously in the show notes, he is a shitcoiner, and you can just see he's just gone, I got this wrong, didn't I?
Yeah.
There's a reason why. I think he hate listens to the Bitcoin podcasts, but then goes, oh, but these guys are consistent. They have conviction. They just believe what they're saying. 'Cause it's nice, isn't it? I like coming on and talking about Bitcoin, and I talk about it with anyone, because I'm not hiding anything. I'm not bullshitting anything. I might not know some things, because I'm not as technical as maybe as I should be, and there's plenty of things I don't know about Bitcoin. But my conviction is 100%. It's solid. Whereas if I was trying to if I was being a shitcoiner and I was trying to shill an NFT or Ethereum or a Solana, oh man, I'd be nervous the entire conversation because I'm like, this is kind of hopes and dreams and hype and just hyperbole. It's literally mainly hopium that, oh yeah, we're gonna reinvent the property market, and instead of having deeds for houses, we're gonna have just put it on the blockchain. And in my head, I'm like, it's not gonna work. Like, why would we ever do that?
But
Yeah.
I think that's the challenge of what people have is because there's a lot of people that bought NFTs and all these other shit coins. And so they are just trying to pump their own bags, maybe get back to breaking even,
Mm.
and then, obviously walk away. But it just doesn't seem to be happening. And equally, they wanted to have that gamble of, well, we chose the other side and the other side won, or the other side at least did pretty well, and it's not doing either.
Yeah. Well, I think the problem is, I think a lot of people do walk away in shitcoin land and then they get recycled. Like there's another one, another one, another one, like because people get wrecked, don't they? They don't have consistency.
Yeah.
Whereas if you look at the people in Bitcoin, like this, the people that have ended up shitcoin in Bitcoin, the only reason they've moved from Bitcoin to shitcoin, every single person, they got caught trading Bitcoin and they
Mm,
got wrecked. And then they try and catch up and they move over to shitcoin land. Everybody that is just a sensible Bitcoiner that buys their Bitcoin, deshays in, and just stays true to that mantra, they never sway from the Bitcoin path. It's a true line. There's just a couple of influencers that think they're smarter than the average Bitcoiner, try and trade it, get wrecked, and go, fuck it, I'm gonna have to scam now to try and get that money back. So they pretend to like another coin. They clearly know they don't like it, but they pretend to scam their followers, make their millions back, probably get hooked on that drug now. Oh, that was
yeah.
easy. I said
Yeah.
Ethereum a couple of times, made a couple of million. What? Who wants me to say another one? You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that was easier than just holding Bitcoin and actually doing it the honest way. Like let's just be a scammer, but no, it's yeah, it's good to see it. The shitcoiners are just I think that, and this is all I think it's coming from the fact that Ethereum during this sideways movement, Ethereum's just been tanking from what I can see. Because obviously we don't talk about it on here, but I don't and I block nearly everybody that talks about Ethereum on my Twitter feed, but I don't think it's done anything for years at this point. It's just existing. And obviously that's meant to be the number two competitor to Bitcoin in the crypto space. There's not a number two, is there? As Sailor said, there's no second best. It's just
Yeah, I'm
Bitcoin
just
and
looking.
then
Year
shitcoin.
to date, it's down. Over the last year, it's up from prior year, 2 years, of course. So,
Yeah, it's up. It's just compared to Bitcoin, it's up less.
correct.
So the chart, the Ether Bitcoin chart is straight down. Bitcoin
Yeah.
is increasing significantly faster than.
It's around about right now as we speak, looking at the charts, 50% of its all-time high. Whereas, as we know, and we can see with Bitcoin, it's closer to its all-time high.
Yeah, it's like 15% off. Yeah,
Yeah,
15 to 50. That's a big. That's a big percentage. That one.
yeah.
It doesn't surprise me because I think people have finally, even these idiots on Twitter, have realized it's not good delivering anything, is it? I
No,
think
I
the whole
mean,
NFT thing seemed to be like a new dawn, and suddenly this hopes of like, oh, everything's gonna have an NFT, and
yeah.
as every Bitcoiner fucking said, it isn't gonna happen. JPEGs are not a new invention. This is just pure degen retardation. We had, instead of
It's
waiting,
weird.
instead of waiting 6 months, we had to wait about 3 years. But eventually we got there, and everyone now agrees NFTs are retarded. So now Ethereum has nothing. That was all. That was its last little thread of hope. Gone.
I was going to say Nintendo opted not to make a new Mario and Sonic game, which they've done for 20 years. So Mario and Sonic at the Olympics, to
Right.
instead focus on NFTs.
That isn't a recent story, surely.
Well, it's not a recent story, but because obviously we've just had the Olympics, but ultimately they did that so this year.
So that makes me hate NFTs anymore, even more. I probably would never play the game, but I'd like to.
Oh, it's
Had
it's
to do the
such a
game.
good, yeah, it's such a good game.
That sounds like an excuse as well, because NFTs, as we all know, you just slam it into AI and just have it create a couple of thousand NFTs for you, and then you're done, aren't you?
So yeah, so here it is. 30th of July was the story, but there's no Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games to coincide with the Paris 2024 Olympics because the International Olympics Committee ditched its long-running partnership with Nintendo and Sega to chase the likes of NFTs and esports.
Oh, and esports in the end.
Yeah. But it's a prominent question which many people have asked.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rare I put a shitcoin story on. It was just a nice, like, again, I think I probably said this before around the final nail in the coffin, but it's yet another final nail in the coffin. You know, these people are slowly but surely just falling off the wagons, and trying to buy shitcoins to outperform Bitcoin is just being proven time and time again to be a fool's errand. It doesn't, unless you're the creator of the coin and you know you're running the scam. If that's you and you're happy doing that, fire away. You probably make some money. But if you're some pleb out there that you're going to log on to your local exchange and go buy a shitcoin, just you're the dumb money. You're the dumb money that is buying these people their yachts in Marbella. Whereas if you buy Bitcoin, you're actually buying your future freedom, and your financial security. There's no one that profits by you buying Bitcoin other than yourself. There's no founder that is there holding all the coins. You can pump and dump. It's just sound money. It's just nice. It's just nice and simple. You won't become a millionaire overnight if you put 500 quid in tomorrow. No one's promising you that. It's just nice, consistent, sound money. Hold its value. The longer you hold it, the more the gains will be. But yeah, it's hopefully one of the last shitcoin stories we ever put on the pod, because it looks like they're virtually dead. It really does feel like. But who knows? The second Bitcoin goes on a tear and it 10x's, there'll be some fucking scam that will come out that will capture the imagination of the dumb money. So I'm sure there'll be I am looking forward to the next new invention of shitcoin, because it's been a bit boring this cycle, but I look forward to see what they come up with next.
Yeah, the cycle so far, especially post halving, has been dry. Let's not lie. It's just been
Just ETF.
Yeah, nothing.
Been the ETF cycle, which is fucking flat as a pancake.
Yeah. Well, there you go. If you've made it this far, we'll leave you on that happy note. In true 4B style, brought to you by Mr. All-In, aka the $1 Trillion Man, Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ, myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution, and she was here, but she's never here. Mrs. No Show, still Mrs. No Show. Peace.